Welcome to An Apple a Day, a podcast, a resource, a community. Share your experiences and learn from others as we overcome barriers and learn to live a happy and healthy life. Not as disabled people, but as people with a disability. Welcome to the community. Here's your host, Jimmy Apple.
Welcome to another episode of An Apple a Day. I'm your host, Jimmy Apple. How you feeling today, my friends? You feeling good? You feeling strong? You feeling better than you did yesterday? Excellent. You can't ask for better than that. An Apple a Day is brought to you by www.famousapple.com. Famousapple.com is the home site for this podcast, so if you get a minute, check it out. While you're tripping around the web, make sure you stop by our group page on Facebook. You can get there by going to www.famousapple.com/group. That's GROUP. Hey, we have got a good one for you today. Our guest is James Perdue. He's the professor of perseverance. Before I introduce you to him, I want to let David tell you a little bit about him. So sit back for a second, relax, and listen to what David has to say.
Who is James Perdue, aka the Professor of Perseverance? James became a quadriplegic, dislocating 3 vertebrae in his neck, from playing a football game. The doctor said, "James, I'm sorry. You'll never walk again and you might be paralyzed from your neck down." Later, the doctor advised his family to place him in a nursing home. He would be too much of a burden for them to take care of. Dr. James Perdue, Professor of Perseverance, worked hard to achieve success as an award-winning educator and coaching a state championship team. As a motivational, inspirational speaker, best-selling author, a podcaster and life coach, James helps people get out of their past, step into their present, and persevere to their future. And now, back to Jimmy.
Thanks, Dave. Let me tell you something. That was a short and sweet description, but this gentleman is something else. You're going to really enjoy this interview. He's personable, he's funny, he's down to earth, he's one of a kind. James Perdue. Now, I'm not going to add any more fluff to this. I want you to sit back, relax, and let me introduce you to the Professor of Perseverance, my friend, James Perdue. Now, as I told you, I have with us the Professor of Perseverance, Dr. James Perdue. How are you today, James?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jimmy. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on your podcast.
Well, I definitely appreciate you being here. A doctor. We have a doctor in the house.
Yeah, I tell people don't take that doctor way out of proportion here. I can't write out a prescription, but I can drive you to your pharmacies and pick them up for you if you need me to.
Well, you can't write it out. Well, get out of here then. How you doing today?
We're doing well. We're blessed and just having a good old day today.
Well, I'm glad. Well, you're down there in Tennessee, right? Nice weather.
Right outside of Nashville. Right outside of Nashville.
Right outside. You have nice weather going on. I'm up here in New York, and we have snow. Believe it or not.
Yeah, we just got some cold air. We don't. Our snow usually comes mid-January into February. After that, we don't get much snow.
What do you consider cold air?
Well, for us, really anything under 30.
Under 30?
30 and under is cold. Well, to us, that's freezing cold. To cold, 35 to 40. Yeah, we're freaking out.
Well, last night it was 26 degrees here. Hey, right now it's a balmy 37 this afternoon.
Well,
I'm about.
Yeah, it wouldn't do me good to be there.
It's not doing me any good to be here either, to be honest.
I hear you.
So, James, let's hear your story. What's your story?
Well, grew up playing baseball at a young age. My grandfather and my mother and brothers, we played, baseball, and I wanted to grow up to be that professional athlete. And so ended up getting a college scholarship and got to play one college game. And the very next day, there were people on the campus, college campus, playing football game. It was a pickup game. No pads, no helmet, but we were playing tackle. And I scored a touchdown on one play, and I put the ball down. And of course, when you score a touchdown and you put the ball down, the play's over. And one guy, he continued playing and hit me and tackled me after the play, and then broke my neck. I was instantly paralyzed. Whoa. I knew it as soon as I tried to get up 3 times, and realized then that this is not a good situation we're in.
Holy smokes! You one shot and you're paralyzed.
Yeah, I heard saw something in my right peripheral vision, my right side. I don't know what it was. I just saw something, and then I felt contact about shoulder high on my right side, and I heard a loud pop, and went to the ground, and he got up. I tried, didn't get up. Again, like I said, tried 3 times and didn't get up, and I was paralyzed instantly. The loud pop, come to find out 3 vertebrae were broken in my neck.
Oh my God! How big was this guy? I mean, seriously.
Well, I was big. I was an athlete, and I weighed about 205 maybe, and this guy may have been 180, 190. I remember asking the physical therapists and doctors one time about breaking a neck, and they said it only takes 5 to 7 pounds of pressure to break a neck. 5 to 7 pounds of pressure, and they said with my weight and the guy's weight and the force of the hit and the gravity pulling all of us down, there's probably 800 to 1,000 pounds of pressure that landed on my head and neck. And they just felt that I was just very lucky to be alive at that point.
My God. Now, this may be a foolish question. Did you ever see this guy again?
I didn't see him, but I think he came to the hospital once to visit. And the only reason I think it's him, I was on what's called a striker frame. They had these screws in my head with like a horseshoe.
Right.
And screwed into my head, and had a rope tied off of it and hanging weights off of it, stretching my neck, trying to get the vertebrae back in place. And so they have it on striker frame, they would turn. So every hour I would lay on my stomach, then they turn the thing over. Then for 2 hours, I'm staring at the ceiling. So every 2 and 1 hour, I'm being turned. So one time I was turned, I was facing the floor, and 2 guys came in and visit, and they're talking with me, and I'm talking, and I don't remember their names or anything, but we were talking. And the only reason I think it was him was because when they left, I heard the door shut, but then I heard it open up again, and I heard someone say, "I'm sorry, man," and then shut the door. So I'm assuming it was him, but I don't know for sure.
And that's it? You never heard from him again?
No, never heard from him ever since then.
Wow.
I'm the type, I would have felt real guilty, and I would have been doing, what can I do to help you, and, stuff like that. And not
felt guilty? I would have been building you a house.
I would have been trying to help, see what I can do. That's the only time that I think he came, and he may not have been him. I don't know, but I'm just guessing. And but never heard anything. Never got a letter, nothing like that from him. Yeah.
Holy stuff! Oh, whoa! Like I said, if that was me and I did that to another, how do you even sleep at night knowing that you did that to another person? I mean, I know. All right, giving the devil its due, it was an accident. I hope. I don't think he did it on purpose, but still, I couldn't sleep at night knowing that I did this to another person without some sort of contact. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't think he did it on purpose, but yeah, we're all different in ways, I guess. But I'm like you. I would have been more involved until he told me to
Right.
stay away.
Right, exactly. I would have been there every day until you said, "Look, Jim, get out of here."
Yeah,
Ugh.
and the I don't know, the weird part as I gotten older and everything like that, and we get older and somewhat wiser, hopefully in life. And I'm one of them that I hope he's had a good life. I don't hurt him. I don't hold any grudge. I don't. Yeah, I hope he's had a good life and everything.
Right.
That's done great, and yeah, I don't have no ill will towards him. And
Well,
and life turned out better for me than we all expected, and so
yeah. Well, I was reading your story. The doctors are telling your family that they should have put you in a nursing home, and that
yeah, they were 19. Yeah, they did. They told them that I'd be too much of a burden for them to provide care for, and needed at the age of 19 to put me in a nursing home. And thankfully, my family was as hard headed as me, and didn't do it. And we decided to take the rough road ahead.
well,
And so we've all done well.
thank God. I mean, I got to give kudos to your family, and I'm sure it was a rough road, but I'm sure you also made it easy because you have such a positive attitude. You weren't laying around. I'm sure like a rock.
Well, and don't want to make it sound, to your listeners that it was all big old bag of apples right there, bag of apples. And we had our days where we didn't like each other, and there's days that wishful thinking that things could be different, and that when those times came, thankfully, like you said, I want to get up and do something with my life the best I can. And so there was a couple of times where I knew I needed to get out of the house away from them, and I would go to a rehab in Miami, Florida, for 3 months to give them a 3 month break, a 4 month break. Or I went to a voc rehab in Tennessee and moved over there for 6 months to give them 6 months without me and without them having to do anything. And so, fortunately, with the desire of wanting to still maintain the life best possible, I was able to do that, and it helped all of us that we all had time to get away from each other and vent and get some frustration out, and then come back. Months later, everything's okay.
Sure, sure. And you know what? My audience realizes this because a lot of them, myself included, are in the same position. We've gone through this, But there's us also other people that their families just said, you know what, psh, shove them off, you know.
Yeah.
And thankfully, your family is a stand-up family, and you're very lucky. You know,
Yes. I've
other
met two other people that when one of them I was down in Miami in that research down there, my Miami project, and met this guy from Connecticut, and he when our time was over from the research that we participated in, he said he had to go back and he would be going back to a nursing home. And I go, nursing home? Like that? And he said, yeah, his mom and dad, they didn't want to deal with all of it. And so they, put him in a nursing home. And
yeah,
so his 3 or 4 months of that research was probably his best time in a while.
sure. It was,
And thinking about going back to that. And then when I got into teaching, I was doing my student teaching and met a student there, but I had met her uncle at a rehab where I went to did the vocational training, and she was telling me that he was in a nursing home, and we had met at that rehab years earlier. So
let me tell you, I know after one of my strokes, I had to stay in a nursing home, and it was only for a little bit more than a month for rehab. And I would not want to live in a nursing home. I'll be honest with you. I mean, if it,
no, it's not definitely top on my priorities either.
I mean,
Because I remember when I was 12, 14, 15, 16 years old, visiting my grandfather who was in a nursing home, he was there for like 10, 12 years before he finally passed away.
Ugh.
And we were young when visiting him. And, the smell, it smelled like crap and death
Yeah.
in places. And I'm thinking at the age of 19 that I'll be, in that facility when they were talking that. And no, I'm glad that God put me with a family that would fight and struggle with me.
Thank God. Thank God. You're very, very fortunate. Very fortunate. Now, I was just going to say, but I think you just answered it. How do you stay positive? how, how do you stay positive, James?
I was not. I think a lot of this goes back to being an athlete growing up. I was one of them that felt invincible. That everything was mine. Everything I went after was going to be what I wanted. And I think that invincibility has carried over into this life. That again, I can either whine and cry and complain and expect everything given and done for me, or I could take the hard route, do the best I can, have the best life possible. One day I was going to class and it was raining. I drove to the school, the college, and it was raining. So I'm getting my wheelchair out of my car, putting it back together in the rain. I see the class I was at, people were standing at the window watching me. No one came out to offer to help, but they were watching. And so when I finally get in, I'm wet. And one student, former student, fellow student, said, "Man, I just couldn't do it." I said, "Couldn't do what?" He said, "I just couldn't do what you do out there like that." And I said, "Well, man, we have two choices in life. One, we can lay in bed and do nothing and be watered and fed like a vegetable, watch the TV that the whoever's with you, watch their TV shows because they're controlling the remote." I said, "Or you can take the hard route and do the best you can and go from there." So, but yeah, he says, "Oh, I couldn't do that."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, maybe you don't know. You're not put in this situation." I said, "You may be going through something that I'm going. Maybe I couldn't do it."
It's funny because you don't know what you can do until you have to do it.
Amen. I'm a big believer that sometimes we go through our crap. Sometimes we go through our trials and tribulation, and it's to prove to us how strong we really are.
You
because
got it.
we forget or we just didn't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can sit there and say, "I could never do that." You know what? I'm a diabetic, and I used to swear that if I ever had to give myself a shot, I'm going to die from diabetes because I hate needles. Now, mind you, if you ever looked at me, I have tattoos. I have tattoos because the guys who gave me the tattoos that I got them from were in the Hells Angels. Now, mind you, I went there voluntarily and got them. People say, "How can you have tattoos, but you're afraid of needles?" Well, I went with my friends to a tattoo shop, and I wasn't going to cry in front of my friends.
That's right. That's right.
And the guys that were giving me the tattoo, the one guy who was giving me the tattoos, his name was Shorty. And he stood about 8 feet tall and weighed about 500 pounds. And he had a sword on the side of his pants, and his jacket says the Hells Angels, New York. I wasn't going to cry in front of him.
No way.
I wanted to, but he did the tattoo. And but when I went to go get married in New York at the time, you had to give blood. They had to take blood and do a blood test. And they took 2 vials of blood. Me being me and afraid of needles, they took the blood. They took the first vial, and they were getting ready to do the second vial. I said, you got to stop. I had to go outside and get air. So, but you find out how strong you are when you have to do it. Now I give myself shots. My wife gives me shots. I check my blood sugar, 8 times a day. And, when you have to do it, you have to do it. It's funny, though. Like I said, you don't know how strong you are until you have to do something. And that's you. And I'm sure that student, if he had to do it, he would do it. Now,
Yeah, and then again, I told the guy, I said, for example, at that time, I said, I've never been through cancer. I don't know if I could deal with that, where this I know I can do. I said, so, whatever you may be going through, I may not be able to feel like I could deal with it. But again, if we're put in that situation, it's the old fight or flight instinct that takes over.
let me tell you something. Just by meeting you, I can guarantee you. All right, and don't get me wrong. I hope 1,000 times over this never comes true. But if you had to deal with cancer, you deal with cancer. I guarantee it.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I'm about 6 or 7 years ago, and got a book about it, cancer. That I was told I had colon cancer,
Well,
and I did the old thing where they mail it to you,
mm-hmm.
and you take care of business, and you mail it back to them. I forgot the name of the thing,
Yeah.
but and mailed it, and it's come back positive. And so then, because of that, my doctor, we talked, and they told me, said, well, said, what we could tell now, we just go in and remove the section and sew it all back up. You be good. You won't have to do any treatments. I said, oh, okay, cool. Let's go. Because my mom, I watched her go through her cancer and taking, she had lung cancer and then taking all them treatments and everything. And so I said, all right, cool. So they had to go in and actually really do the clean out so they can go find what's going on. And then when it got in, it said there was no cancer at all. There was a false positive on the thing. And I ended up writing a book about that situation. And what I did is I made it like a journal.
Yeah.
It would say like at the beginning, week 1, day 1, September 29th.
Right.
And whatever information I got that day, I wrote it down. Then week 1, day 2, September 30th. Whatever happened that day, I wrote it down. And it's a 6 weeks of going from being told you got the cancer to find out the end that there was no cancer at all. It was a false positive. And so but yeah, I wrote a book about that thing. It's called Cancer, A Story of Blessing, Hope, and Strength.
And I'd add into it an alcoholic trip, because if someone did that to me, I think I don't know, that's unnerving. That's unnerving. I mean, I'd celebrate at the end, but oof.
Yeah, the bad thing about this Cologuard, that's what it is. Cologuard,
yes.
I'm giving you a bad rap, Cologuard. Y'all deserve it. But my doctor, he said the reason doing it, he says, because it takes the DNA, he said, it's 99.99% accurate. I said, all right, we did it. And that's when he calls me and tells me positive. So then I went and got a CT scan to do further testing. It came back showing something was up. So then, all right, so my doctor said the Cologuard is 99.99% accurate. So then I met with the doctor before we get ready to go into the hospital. He says, oh, man, he says, when we get done, we find that Cologuard is like 75% accurate.
Whoa.
So we dropped from 99 to 75% talking to a different doctor. And then when they go in and they put the camera up to check me out, right before then, they asked, how did I get there? And I told them about the Cologuard. He said, oh, as many as we've seen this Cologuard, it's like 50-50. So we went from 99 down to 50%. And I'm going, there's no way they ought to be selling that for a coin toss.
Really?
So, and there's people that are truly got cancer. Yeah, I understand that. But for a scare, for me, it's not worth a coin flip.
No, not at all. Jesus. Well, I hope you got the movie, the video of them going up your colon. You could put it on.
Oh, I didn't get the video. I wish they would offer. I didn't think about it, asking about video, but I asked, would I stay awake and can I watch it on the screen? Because I've seen other people that were doing that, and I said I'd like to see it. And then they told me, he says, well, we don't really do that anymore. He said, because people slow us down by going, what's that? what's that? What's that?
Never mind that.
And he said, we just slowed down. And so they don't do that anymore. At least this place didn't do it anymore. I don't know about anywhere else.
You should have got it. You should have got a copy of it and put it on TikTok. You could have made a fortune.
Oh, there you go. I should have. So maybe the next time we we go for the colonoscopy, and we'll ask for a video.
Get the video. Put a little music behind it.
That's right.
Put it on YouTube. You'll make a killing.
There you go.
Now, here's another thing for you. And I think I'm answering my own questions before I even ask them. But how did you get the name Professor of Perseverance?
My man, John Bentley. Hey, John, to give me your story again here, buddy. We met in the Speakers Association. We were both wanted to become, motivational, inspirational public speakers, professional speakers. And we were in the same organization, same club. And one day we met, because we'd meet once a month. And we met, and all of a sudden one day John was sitting behind me. I heard someone going, Professor of Perseverance. I'm just looking forward, not paying any attention. Professor of Perseverance. I'm just looking forward. And finally he goes, James. I turned around, hey, John, how's it going, man? He said, man, you're the Professor of Perseverance. I said, huh? He said, well, you got a doctoral degree. I said, yeah. He said, all right, you're a professor. He said, you want to talk about perseverance? Yeah, you're the Professor of Perseverance. So that's how I got it, from John Bentley. I told him I was going to steal that and tag it forever now, and thanked him for the lead.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Thank you, John Bentley.
Yeah. Another little funny story along with that. Years later, we got a Popeye's chicken restaurant in our town. And one day, it's getting not dark, but it's getting there. And so I drove by the restaurant. I looked over, and the Popeye's name that's lit up on the building, the P-O-P was lit up, but the word eyes wasn't. So it's P-O-P, bright, that's it. And I pulled over, took a picture of it, and then I said, look, even Popeye's chicken is advertising for the Professor of Perseverance.
Very good.
So I need to send that picture to the head organization to see if I can get some advertisement or something for that.
There you go. All right, so as long as we're on the name, we're dropping names. We got John Bentley. So who's Ricardo?
Ricardo, he's my main man. He's my, what people say, the yin and yang. We're the salt and pepper. He's a black lab, and he's my service dog.
Oh,
I got him, he's 14 years old. I got him 12 years ago.
Excellent.
And he's been my first service dog ever. I couldn't ask for a better one.
Really?
So he's been great. So
excellent. You've had him for what? For 12 years?
I've had him now for 12 years. Yeah.
God bless. I love labs.
Yeah, these beautiful. Them old hips are catching up with him. You know how them lab hip dysplasia and all that. They're catching up with him, but other than that, he's doing pretty good still at 14.
Very good. Now, this may sound, and I don't know, I can't see this being a positive question for you, but did you ever feel like giving up?
Oh yeah, I tell people they talk to me like we're talking right now, and I'm the happy-go-lucky. I mean, we're all the same. Mm-hmm. We're on cloud 9 at one point, and then we're down in the valley the next day. Who knows? What life's going to throw at us.
Right.
And so, people that are listening, be sure to understand, I'm not like this happy-go-lucky, positive, all that. I have my days. I'm just blessed that I have more of the good days than the bad days. And the first 5 years, I hid my depression from being paralyzed. And I tried to do the old fake face, be smiling and positive, because I don't want my family to worry about me.
Right. And
we went to 18 different rehabs in the first 5 years trying to find that cure to walking in. And finally, after the 18th one, I said, for me to have a life, I need to start concentrating more on living in a wheelchair than just being in a chair. And that's when I realized how depressed I was when I finally got out of it. And also, probably before I got Ricardo, 12 years ago, 14 years ago, I had actually attempted suicide
Wow.
3 times in 3 years. 3 times 3 years, 3 times in 3 days. That's
Three
how
t-
bad I wanted.
3 times in 3 days?
Yeah, the first day took 2 boxes of Sudafed because it said, supposed to cause drowsiness and don't operate heavy machinery, drive a vehicle. And so 24 tablets are in a box. So I had 2 boxes, 48 pills I took in 3 minutes. And
Holy.
all it did was give me a headache. Nothing, nothing. I didn't fall
I,
asleep.
I'm not laughing at you.
No, 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 it's fine because when I wrote my first book, One More Play, chapters 13 and 12, 13, I think, are about the suicide attempt. And then the very next day was Super Bowl Sunday, and I called a pharmacy and told them, it says, hey, I'm having insomnia, can't sleep. What do you recommend? They said Benadryl. And all I had was $6. So I bought 1 box of Benadryl. And the Super Bowl going on that day was the undefeated Patriots playing the Giants.
Uh,
And took those 24 pills and fell asleep and woke up with the Giants celebrating the Super Bowl. And I missed, so yeah, it took 24. So you got all these pills, from the day before and that day, still didn't kill me. So the third day, I got in my van because I was school teaching then and coaching, and I took a leave of absence. And so, and that weekend, I called at the school to several teachers and left on their voicemail, thanking them for being friends with me, for helping me, for being so positive with me, just take care of me. And next thing I knew, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting these phone calls because teachers are showing up, getting these messages now. Now I'm getting all these phone calls. Now I'm having to tell them, oh, y'all just worrying too much. Y'all taking them. I'm just thanking you for your friendship. And so after I get off the phone with them, I get in my van in my garage and turn it on, and I get out of my wheelchair and lay on the floor. That way, if I start feeling bad, I wouldn't leave. And someone found me hours later, said I wasn't breathing, and they called 911 and got me to a hyperbaric chamber for about 4 hours in hyperbaric chamber, and then was in the hospital for like 7 or 8 weeks.
wow.
So,
Well, thank God it didn't work.
well, and I tell people because now when I tell them a story, it's everybody's so intense because of this, and then I try to lighten the mood. I'll go, you live through a suicide attempt. They make you see a psychologist. They make you see a psychiatrist if you live like that. So I'm trying to lighten the mood in. But he's the one that told me that obviously God didn't want me right now. There wasn't time to go. That I got things I got to get done here. And he's the one that said I need to get into public speaking, tell my story, get it out there, write a book. And yeah, he's the one that encouraged me to do all that.
Well, I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a firm believer that that's true. That if we were meant to go, we would have went when the accidents happened.
Yes.
There's a reason that we're still here. And like you said, you're here because you have a story to tell. Your story, even if it saves one other person, is a success.
Yes.
That's the way I feel about my story. If it saves one other person, it's a success. And I did what I was supposed to do by being here still. And the
That's
same
right.
with you. So keep telling your story. Now I got another question.
Preach it out there, brother.
What's that?
Preach it, brother.
Yeah, definitely. Now I got another question
I'm
for
a
you.
firm believer that everybody ought to write a book. It doesn't have to be a self-help. It doesn't have to be, a number one bestseller. But everybody should write it just to tell their life story. That way, when they're dead and gone, and their great 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 grandbaby gets to read about how you were, and they can learn how they have that same characteristics in them is because of their great granddaddy,
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly.
And they go because uh, a small example of that is my brother and I. We're both left-handed, and my mom and dad are both right-handed. Their mom and dads are both of them are right-handed, but then my mom said her great grandmother was left-handed.
Hmm.
So we go back to it'd be my great grandmother. Her left-handed gene came all the way down for me and my brother to get.
It,
So,
it's
so
amazing.
stories like this, it's stories like that for the kids to realize. Well, that's how I got the red hair is from. Yeah.
Well,
So.
that's like that ancestry.com.
Mhm.
You ever look into that? And I know somebody that did that just recently. And it's amazing the things you can find out when you go looking back at your ancestors. It to me that I find that very interesting.
I haven't looked into that. I mean, I think it's interesting, but I just haven't dove into that yet.
Well, I think it's interesting. I just don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I just think I do. I find it interesting when you actually go back and look, like you said, you like about the left-handed and the right-handed. Little things like that, little nuances like that. I find that just interesting, very interesting.
So, yeah, also, my mom told me that my grandfather, her dad, he quit school like in the third or fourth grade at that time to go try to help do anything he could to help raise money, for their family,
Mm-hmm.
to just go work. And then he ended up being an entrepreneur, his own laundromat, had
Right.
three of them, and run his own business, with a third grade education because he got out early to learn how to do that stuff.
Right. He instead of book smarts, he had life education.
Yeah, that's right. And so, with him doing that, I think trickled down into my DNA as well. For me to be able to fight to do whatever I need to do to survive. Which was what he was doing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, I do have this I'm really curious about. What are your 3 P's for success?
Three P's for success is, of course, perseverance.
Naturally.
And then I believe, if we've got to be able to take that one step forward. I don't care if you're moving at a snail's pace, as long as you're going forward. You don't have to be fast about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then another P, I believe, is partners. We got to have a bunch of people in our lives to help us succeed. Friends, your family, spouses, maybe children. But there can be people that come into your life to help you succeed. And the third one is believe in prayer, and that'll take care of a lot of things.
You bet. You bet. Excellent. And one more thing. One more thing. Give a positive power statement for the people that are struggling.
Yeah, my thing would be everybody needs to learn to sing the ABC. Now, just like Michael Jackson, all he sang was ABC. Don't go all the way to Z. Just ABC, ABC. Just sing the ABC. And then what I tell people then is A stands for the sooner you can accept your adversity, the sooner you can start healing. It took me 5 years to finally accept it and move on. So the sooner you can accept your adversity, you can start your healing. Then B for ABC, B, it's begin battling. What do we do to begin the battle? Now we use our fingertips and get on the internet. We find someone, some organization, Facebook groups, a coach, a mentor, people that's been through what you're going through, and learn from them how they got through it. And then C, we're going to conquer the challenge. We're going to take A and B together and put it together and then go conquer it and have the best life possible.
Excellent. 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 James, you are amazing. Now, you got some books out there. Let's hear.
Yeah, just go to Amazon and you can look up Dr. James Perdue, and Perdue is Perdue, and you probably find it as Professor of Perseverance. But yeah, you can find books and on my author page. And I'll send you the link as well to make it easier for people to click on.
Well, definitely. We'll put the link in the show notes here. But what are the names of the books that you have out there?
Oh, I got like 10 of them. 5 of them, I got little children's books about my service dog. He goes in and helps other people. We talk about basically different disabilities, whatever. For example, one of his books, we were at Walmart, and a woman come up with her son in the buggy and says, "Can my son pet your dog?" So that's the name of the book. Can my son pet your dog? And I said, "Yeah, go ahead." And I got Ricardo to get up in my lap so the boy can reach him from the buggy. He's petting Ricardo, and all of a sudden he points and says, "Dog." I said, "Yeah, buddy, he's a dog. That's right." And then I look over and Mother was crying. And I put Ricardo down and says, "I'm sorry, I don't know what he did to get you crying, but I apologize." She says, No, it's not y'all." She says, "My son is autistic." And that's the first word I've ever heard him say. And the boy had to have been like 4 years old.
Get out of here.
And so we made a book on that little one, and we talked about autism at the last of the book. There's another one. He goes to an assisted living home, and he's playing volleyball with the assisted living people, and on the treadmill, walking with them, and going to the dance thing and dancing. And there's another one where actually this is a true story. I met a woman that told me their son at age 16 died of cancer. He loved hunting. So I took her story basically, and Ricardo would go visit this boy in the hospital with the cancer, except in our book, the boy lived. So, because I didn't want kids to read this and read
right
the outcome of death. And so he lives in this one. And Ricardo and him, they go hunting together. So plus he got his own Christmas book. He gets to have Santa Claus and Rudolph pass out gifts in the house. But the other books I got is One More Play, and then the cancer book, and then another one's called Your Past Doesn't Have a Future, But You Do. Create Your Future Today. And then another one's Persevere Past Your Paralysis.
Excellent. Well, like I said, we're going to put all of this in the show notes, and you'll find out where you can check out James's books. And I'm going to tell you right now, you've just heard James speaking, and I'm sure his books are just as good as his speaking persona here. So get his books. Check out his books. They'll probably make great Christmas gifts, stocking stuffers.
It's that time of the year.
That's right. Check out his books. So, James, I want to thank you for being here today. I really
appreciate you again for the opportunity. And man, I'm going to we're going to get together so I can get you on my podcast.
Definitely, without a doubt. Well, it took a long time for us to get together here.
It did, but I'm glad it worked out.
So am I. So am I. It was definitely well worth the wait here. But I want to really thank you for being here today, and I'd love to have you on again, to be honest with you. We'll follow up on this.
Oh, yes, sir. We'll work this out. We'll get it taken care of.
Definitely. But thanks again for being here, and we'll talk again. Have a great...
Thank you, listeners. You hang in there like they say in the South, listeners, y'all hang in like a hair in a biscuit.
There you go. There you go. Have a great Thanksgiving, you and your family.
All right. Thank you. You do the same.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank James for being on the podcast today, and I'd like to thank you, the listener, for being here today. I really appreciate it. And I want to remind you, things can always be worse, my friends. That's right. Right now, there's somebody somewhere wishing that they were in your position, so things can always be worse. Hey, you've been listening to an Apple a Day. My name is Jimmy Apple. I want to remind you, Monday through Friday, there's a new, fresh apple fritter every day for you. Comes out at 4 a.m. every day. 5 to 10 minutes. It's a quick little podcast, informational little tidbits just for you every day. So make sure you check them out. Plus, check out our weekly podcast, An Apple a Day. And we look forward to talking to you again. Have a great day today, my friends.
Thanks for listening to An Apple a Day with Jimmy Apple, your gateway to a happy, healthy life. Join our community at www.famousapple.com. See you next time.